I wanted to take a moment to share about a bag that I have made for the back of the wheelchair. If you have someone needing a wheelchair bag that fits on the back, what I made was just a simple bag with loops that do not use Velcro or hook and loop or whatever you might want to call it, or a button or anything. These are attached. I have 3 pockets on the front that this middle one fits like a cell phone, and there's 2 on each side. And then on the inside there is another pocket where I just did two pockets with the seam straight down the side. This is a pretty simple do-it-yourself one. I do have the written pattern my first time, so if you go and look at it, apologies if it's difficult, but I thought I would share this bag since it's difficult to find one that's pretty simple. These were specifically for donating to a nursing facility near me when I had some time on my hands. So I wanted to show this bag and how to make it really quick. The finished dimensions is 18 inches. Most of the standard wheelchairs are 18 inches at the back, and then with the 2 loops, and then this is finished size 12 inches long. So I will show you what you need to cut out, and if you look at my written pattern, it will have the sizes and the pieces in a little bit more concise detail, but for the sake of doing a short video, I just want to show you how I made this very quickly. So here I have the pieces laid out, already cut. One thing I will mention, if you are new to this, for all of those that are more well-versed, I am not. I would consider myself a high novice, low intermediate. If you have like a straight square, this is really great for helping you cut. Using your rotary cutter, if you don't have this and you're doing it by hand, this is a hashtag life changer. And then of course, and you might want like a some type of fabric pencil or marker if you need. Again, if you're really more advanced, then you could probably eyeball this pretty quickly. I used this to mark my pockets as I was trying to create this pattern. So this pattern calls for 5 different pieces. The main piece is going to be the 19 by 13, because again, we're doing an 18 by 12 finish piece. So with your seams, it'll be 18 by 12. So I cut 4 of my main color. In this case, I'm using a solid fabric. So I have 4 of those pieces. I cut the same size. What I was using, because I had it on hand, and again, this is for donation purposes, I used an acrylic felt. You can use maybe like a batting or medium weight interfacing. I just used felt and it seemed to go pretty well, so I'm sticking with that. I still have a stash. The other pieces are going to be your inside pocket, which measures 19 by 6, and then your outer pocket, or really your inner pocket, that one's outer, this one's inner, that will go inside the bag. That one is 19 by 8. And then I have my straps, which are 11 by 3, because I'm going to fold those over and then use those as my straps. And then in what I'm calling encasing, I don't have any bias tape on hand. This isn't really going to be bias tape, and I'm going to treat it like bias tape, and I'm going to put it along the top of the bag where it will give it a finished edge like I have on this one here. So once you cut all of these out, my next step that I do is I iron everything at once. So I'm going to iron these pieces and I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to iron the encasing, fold it half, and then fold it into its half, and then fold it over like you would bias tape. Fold this one in half and press it. And then I'm going to press the top and the bottom of each of the pockets. And then after that, we'll go to stitching. But I'll show you what it looks like after I've pressed, just in case you need to know. So I finished ironing. As you can see, when I was doing my pocket, I did a very short fold over, and then essentially what I'm going to do is zigzag stitch along the top, and then I did a straight stitch along the bottom. So if you do have like a pattern that faces one way, take that into consideration. I did both of the pockets that way. Here are the straps. I folded them just in half, and then what I'm going to do is straight stitch from one corner or one end down the bottom line, and then leaving this one open. If you are using a printed fabric, make sure that the printed side is on the inside, because we're going to turn this inside out. So for me, it doesn't really matter because I'm using, you know, a solid color, but you would want to put right sides together when you fold this and iron it. And then here is my, what I'm calling the encasing, the top trim. And as you can see, I folded it in half and then turned it into each half and then ironed it along the way. So this will go along the top of the bag. What I'm going to do next is I am going to zigzag stitch the top of each pocket, straight stitch the bottom of each one, leaving each end raw. And then I guess I could go ahead and stitch this one, and then I'll show you what happens when we're putting this all together. After this, it goes pretty quick. All right, so I finished zigzag stitching along the top of my pockets, both of them, and then a straight stitch along. Of course, as you're going under, you're wanting to keep it as close to the edge as you can, and to make sure that you catch the fabric. Just make sure you're catching the fabric. For any of you new ones, I don't know how many times I've, cursed aloud. I've pinned here my encasing at the top for the trim. And the next step that I'm going to do, there's a couple. I am going to straight stitch the top as close as I can again to the bottom of the casing here. And I'm straight across. I'm also going to go straight across the bottom of the pocket and attach that. Now this is my front piece right here. So on this one I have an extra layer. There's my felt or whatever lining you're using. So that will go on the front. And the reason why I did that instead of on the back was because I thought maybe, and you can do it, I guess, either way that you would like, and please leave a comment if you have a preference, but what I was thinking is, as you're putting stuff in the front, I just wanted to give the front a little bit more backbone, I guess, than as far as the back, which would be against the back of the bag, or back of the wheelchair. I'm not really concerned about that. So again, I'm going to stitch across each top. I'm going to stitch across the bottom of each pocket, leaving all the other edges raw and open. And then from there, I am going to, the second part of this, along with these stitches here, I'm going to make the pockets. The pockets on the front, I measure 7.5 to 11.5, and I mark that with my pencil. So 7.5 here, 11.5 here. That'll make my center cell phone pocket. You can make it to whatever size you want, but that's what I did from the raw sides. On the back side, or the inner pocket, I just did straight down the middle at 9 inches. The other thing I didn't mention is for the front pocket on the outside, I went 3 inches from the top. So this is at 3 inches. You can kind of see it if I move my thing here. 3 inches here from the top. And then on the inside pocket, I did 3.5 inches. I kind of debated doing 3 inches as well. Again, if you have comments on that or not, it's probably small, just nitpicky kind of things. It does kind of, on the inside, it's a little bit more, of course, recessed down in another 1/2 inch, but I did 3 inches on the outside pocket, 3.5 inches on the inside pocket. I will now stitch, and then make my pockets and the center pocket for the back. All right, so here I now have sewn all the tops, as I mentioned, the bottoms of the pockets, and then also the pockets themselves. This is the inside pocket. You can see I did right down the middle. So there's 2 pockets here. This is the front piece, and again, I'll have the cell pocket in the middle, and then the other 2 on each side, 7.5, 11.5, as at the seam. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get ready to sew the whole bag together. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam, and then here is the front. I'm going to place with the right side up, this one right over. So this is the inner pocket. This is the outside pocket, front piece, back piece. This one has the felt with it right here. I'm going to lay these right on top, pin them together. I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam from one edge all the way around to the top, leaving, of course, this open. Make sure it all matches. After that, after I sew, and make sure, beginners, that you catch all of your sides, because sometimes, it doesn't always line up. So make sure you're catching that and paying attention as you're turning it inside out before you trim your seam. Then I'm going to trim the seam as close as I can, maybe cut the corners just a little bit to make it fold out. It doesn't really matter a whole lot on this bag, I don't think. But I'm going to stitch around, and then from there we're going to turn it inside out and go to the straps. All right, so I have now stitched it, turned it right side out. So here's the front of the bag and the inside of the bag here with its pockets. The next and final step will be putting on the straps. So here's one strap that I have that I've stitched, but I have not turned inside out. This one I have now turned inside out, and I also went ahead and pressed it because it was a little scrunched up, wrinkly. So I have pressed it now. I'm going to now attach the bag. I'm going to keep this finished side on the outside of the bag, just preference. And then I'm going to fold this one over maybe about an inch. And what I'm going to do then is put it on each side of the bag and pin it. One other tool for new people is to turn this inside out. I use this stick. I don't even remember where I got this. It looks kind of like a wooden knitting needle, but it's not. And then that's how I turn this side out. There's other tools out there. You could also use, the safety pin style, but I just used this. So what I want to do on the next and final step is I'm going to take the bag and have it at the seam, put the right side out. Now, I don't have a heavy duty machine, so I'm very conscientious about overdoing not only the needle, but my machine. I've broken one machine before. I don't know if it was because I overused it, probably. So I'm going to place it right about there, maybe about an inch below the encasing. And then with my folded end under, I am going to pin that to the inside of the bag and then stitch in a square. And I will just do a quick video of what that looks like after that, and then you should be good to go to make your own bag. So here I have my now completed bag. Here are the straps that I mentioned where I just square stitched. You could maybe cross hatch if you wanted. These seem pretty sturdy. I just went along kind of the edge of the trim and around in a square, and you could see on the inside, I didn't do as clean of a job. This one will work, but as you're paying attention, another rookie mistake here. But the other thing I would mention that I always do is making sure that I'm pinning them and folding them under at about the same height. When you're working on this, before you have stitched and you have it pinned, maybe putting them together and making sure they're pretty close to the same length. It should be about 2 inches, just about there. And anyway, so there's your finished bag. If you would like to look at my written, I did do it on a blog spot with pictures showing this as well. If there's any details that I've forgotten, I've tried to remember it all as I've done this video. And anyways, please leave a comment, and hopefully these bags will get used. My target is for people in nursing facilities that are going to dialysis, and so they have a bag to put stuff in as they get transported. Hope you have a good day and happy sewing.